The guild does not take your orders.
Today, the Spacing Guild wields a subtle yet overarching influence. It cares less about politics and more about the steady flow of commerce and exploration. Noble houses rise and fall, emperors come and go, yet the guild sticks around. Its navigators float in their spice tanks, peering ahead and ensuring that the galaxy's highways remain open for business. So long as the spice keeps flowing, the guild continues to hold the keys to the stars. But what really are they? How do they function? Why is it that the guild is nearly irreplaceable and indispensable in the Dune Universe? These are but a few of the questions we'll be answering in this video, but before we get too deep into it, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to the channel. It's a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. And without further ado, let's get right into it. Number 1. How did the Spacing Guild come into existence? The universe of Dune is vast and old. Like, really vast and really old. It stretches across several parts of the universe and is spread across several millennia. I mean, just the time difference between Dune Prophecy and the movies is like 10,000 years, so we're dealing with some large stretches of time. Anyways, the interesting thing about the lore is that almost every epic tale seems to spring from the legendary Butlerian Jihad, and the origin story of the Spacing Guild is no exception. The Butlerian Jihad was this massive galaxy-wide war against thinking machines, a no-holds-barred crusade that wrapped up with the religiously driven obliteration of any tech more advanced than a calculator. It was necessary because the thinking machines, or the AI-based machines, had begun to amass much more knowledge than humans and concluded that it was best for the universe to eradicate mankind, although we're not entirely sure if that would have been such a bad thing. I mean, Thanos definitely had a point, but we digress. We'll take you back to the Butlerian Jihad. Now, during this monumental conflict, humanity was in a mad rush to invent non-thinking gadgets to take down the so-called robot gods. Oh yeah, they had, like, robot gods and all that. I think you should check out our video on the whole Atreides Harkonnen conflict's history. That also begins with the Butlerian Jihad, much like the Spacing Guild origins. And we get into it in a lot more depth over there. So anyways, this frenzy to create non-thinking machines is where Theo Holtzman comes into the spotlight. He was this brainy inventor who uncovered the Holtzman effect, which was supposed to be a game-changing discovery. Sensing potential, he brought on board Norma Senva, a brilliant young mathematician whose intellect was off the charts. Norma was definitely a number cruncher, yes, but apart from that, she was a visionary who came up with several groundbreaking applications for the Holtzman effect. But in a classic case of genius being overshadowed, Holtzman stole the credit for her breakthroughs. Norma, who wasn't one to chase the limelight, didn't make a fuss, yet Holtzman, jittery about her burgeoning genius, decided to cut her loose, fearing she might eclipse him entirely. Karma seemed to catch up with Holtzman pretty quickly. Shortly after giving Norma the boot, he met his demise in a slave revolt, a rather unceremonious end for such a prominent figure. Left to her own devices, Norma pressed on solo, but her journey took a dark turn when she was captured and tortured by a man encased in a robot body. This experience, however, was a twisted blessing in disguise. The ordeal awakened her latent psychic abilities, unlocking a prescient vision of fold space technology. She wasted no time in embracing this newfound insight. She accelerated the development of fold space tech, effectively leapfrogging the timeline. She engineered the first fold space engine and built a ship to harness it, catapulting space travel into a new era. But wouldn't you know it, history repeated itself. Her lover, Aurelius Venport, claimed the accolades for her achievements, another man riding her coattails into the annals of history. However, together they had a son named Adrian, who didn't let the grass grow under his feet. He took his mother's groundbreaking work and founded the Fold Space Shipping Company. This enterprise dabbled in faster-than-light travel, monopolized it, and enforced its dominance with a hefty dose of muscle and not-so-subtle intimidation tactics. Now, although she's not mentioned in the original Dune novels, Norma's prescient abilities and behind-the-scenes maneuvering make her quite an important character in the expanded universe. She's like the invisible hand guiding the cosmos. She watched as her progeny's company tightened its grip on space travel, fully aware of the power it wielded. Her great-grandson, Joseph Venport, a guy who didn't mind stirring the pot, picked a fight with House Carino, the Emperor's own family, and took things to a whole new level by assassinating Emperor Salvador Carino. Seeing the writing on the wall, Norma used Joseph as a bargaining chip and struck a deal with Emperor Roderick. She promised to hand over Joseph in exchange for a few key concessions: safety for her navigators, a steady pipeline of the precious spice melange, and the establishment of an independent spacing guild. But do you know where Norma's savvy truly shines? Well, she transformed Joseph into a navigator, effectively placing him beyond Roderick's reach and neatly sidestepping any real sacrifice on her part. In one fell swoop, she secured everything she wanted without giving up anything she couldn't afford to lose. Number 2. What really is the Spacing Guild? Needless to say, in Frank Herbert's Dune Universe, the Spacing Guild is a colossal force with a monopoly over interstellar travel and banking. And they managed to achieve this status because of one not-so-secret but mysterious weapon called the... Any guesses? Anyone? That's right, the Guild Navigators, also known as guildsmen or steersmen. These individuals rely on melange, more commonly known as the spice, to gain a degree of prescience, which is basically a kind of future sight. This ability allows them to navigate folded space, safely piloting massive starships known as highliners across the vastness of interstellar space in an instant. The Guild's power balances against that of the Padishah Emperor and the noble houses of the Landsraad. They keep themselves mostly apolitical and focus on the flow of commerce and the economy that helps keep their coffers full. Sure, they could throw their weight around in political circles given their control over transport terms and fees, but they're not interested in political power beyond what benefits their economic interests. In the original Dune novel from 1965, the Spacing Guild enjoys its lucrative monopoly without openly seeking to rule humanity. They prefer to share power with the Emperor and the Great Houses and prefer pulling strings from behind the scenes. Paul Atreides figures out that the Guild believes all political empires are temporary. To ensure their survival, they act like a parasite, supporting one imperial dynasty until it crumbles, then hitching their wagon to the next one. As we all know, by the end of the story, Paul topples Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV by taking control of Arrakis, the only source of the all-important spice melange. He realizes just how dependent the Guild is on the spice. Without it, they're blind and can't navigate interstellar travel at all. Faced with this vulnerability, the Guild has no choice but to side with Paul. They even threaten to strand the Emperor and his forces on Arrakis if he doesn't step down. The Guild offers a unique service to the houses of the Imperium. If a house is in danger of defeat, they can contact the Guild to be whisked away to safety outside the system. Some have become renegade houses, escaping with their family atomics and shields beyond the Imperium's reach. The Guild controls a sanctuary planet, or perhaps multiple planets, known as Tupile. The locations are a closely guarded secret known only to the Guild and are kept inviolable under the Guild peace. In Dune Messiah, the second book published in 1969, Navigator Edric gets tangled in a plot to dethrone Emperor Paul Atreides. He joins hands with Scytale, a Tleilaxu face dancer, Gaius Helen Mohiam, a Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother, and Princess Irulan of House Carino, Paul's estranged consort. The Guild has a huge stake in breaking Paul's control over the spice supply due to their insatiable need for melange. Edric's presence also shields the conspirators from discovery. His prescience cloaks their actions from other prescients like Paul. But the scheme falls apart, and Edric and Mohiam meet their end at the hands of Fremen leader Stilgar, following orders from Paul's sister, Alia Atreides. Number 3. What's the structure of the Guild, and who or what are the Navigators? Well, the Spacing Guild's top brass never actually show their faces, and their exact chain of command hides behind thick curtains of secrecy. A chief administrator and a cadre of managers and bureaucrats exist, though nobody seems to know their names. Among this super-secret network, one position matters above all others: the Guild Navigator. These rare individuals, once human, now possess uncanny abilities to foresee the unpredictable dangers of faster-than-light passages. Before they came into existence, about 1 out of every 8 fold space voyages ended in a disaster, a fiery one. The birth of navigators ended that trend, so everyone with a hint of ambition wants a navigator on their side. Becoming a navigator involves some pretty freaky steps. Candidates must immerse themselves in tanks filled with gaseous orange spice, a substance unique to Arrakis. Prolonged exposure warps their bodies until they resemble something part human, part fish, with stretched limbs, massive heads, and unsettling blue eyes. This twist of flesh does more than produce a strange body, it unlocks a navigator's mind. With this psychic edge, they can map safe routes through fold space and hop between stars in the blink of an eye. The Guild guards these navigation methods and the engines that enable them as if they were crown jewels. This iron-fisted monopoly ensures that the entire universe depends on melange. Without spice, navigators lose their special foresight. Without that foresight, star travel grinds to a halt. Princess Irulan, in David Lynch's film adaptation of Dune, sums it up pretty clearly when she says, over thousands of years, spice transformed the Navigators, giving them power over space itself. They can reach any corner of the universe without bothering to move an inch. The Spacing Guild is one of 3 titanic powers steering the cosmic order. The Emperor stands at the center, the noble houses squabble like spoiled brats around him, and the Guild quietly supplies the service that keeps it all afloat. They claim their place by offering something that no one else can duplicate. Number 4. How has the exposure to spice mutated Guild Navigators over time? The spice reshapes a Guild Navigator's human body and mind on a radical level. A once normal person exposed to enormous amounts of the prized substance ends up looking and acting nothing like their old self. This transformation doesn't come through a casual nibble of spice here and there. Navigators absorb massive doses, far beyond what most people ever see. This intense contact triggers deep physical mutations and mental adaptations that push them well past ordinary human limits. Their bodies stretch and distort over time, limbs elongate into unnatural shapes, and heads swell into bulbous forms that no longer fit human norms. Regular human features vanish beneath strange contours. Eyes turn a solid shade of blue, from iris to sclera, so dark that they appear almost black. This permanent discoloration signals a profound metabolic shift. The Navigators' flesh and bones reshape under the spice's relentless influence, leaving them somewhere between a human and a bizarre aquatic creature better suited to another galaxy. The spice affects more than just their looks. It forces their physiology to depend entirely on it. Without constant exposure to a dense orange-hued spice atmosphere, the Navigators' altered body cannot function. The Guild keeps them suspended in large tanks filled with concentrated spice gas. In this heady environment, their minds sharpen into tools of near-psychic navigation. Their preternatural senses allow them to glimpse short distances into the future and chart safe paths through the perils of fold space. They can spot trouble before it materializes, steering vast ships across interstellar distances with uncanny accuracy. Without spice, that ability evaporates, and these once gifted navigators lose their edge. These transformations come at a steep price. A navigator never walks free among ordinary folks again. Their dependence on spice and their mutated forms confine them to special chambers. There, they hover in a trance-like state, gazing into the void of space and time. They trade freedom and good looks for cosmic-level foresight, guided by a substance that warps their DNA and their destiny. The rough deal might seem like a raw bargain, but it grants them godlike sway in a universe that worships reliable interstellar travel. For the ambitious, this twisted journey up the evolutionary ladder pays off. Spice unlocks mental powers that outshine anything common humans possess. It turns navigators into something more than human, true freaks of nature, but freaks with influence. With so many powers at stake, who would complain about a fishy appearance or a life lived inside a glorified spice bubble? Number 5. How do Guild Navigators enable faster-than-light space travel? Guild Navigators provide a safe and reliable method for traveling vast interstellar distances at speeds that seem to surpass light. They do not brute force their way through the cosmos or break the laws of physics. Instead, they tap into a special force known as the Holtzman effect, which allows certain engines, called Holtzman engines, to fold space. This process creates a bridge between 2 distant points, granting near instantaneous passage across unimaginable gulfs of star-strewn darkness. Without proper guidance, though, a ship could easily vanish or smash headlong into unseen hazards. That's where the navigators strut their stuff. A navigator hovers in a tank of super-concentrated spice gas, their body mutated and their mind expanded by colossal amounts of the rare substance melange. The spice grants intense prescient abilities. This foresight is not a vague guess or a mythical hunch. It allows navigators to glimpse future outcomes of possible routes through fold space. They can sense which path leads to safety and which leads to cosmic disaster. With these razor-sharp predictive skills, they chart a course that ensures the ship emerges at its chosen destination intact. Without that vision, no technology alone can guarantee a clean arrival. In the early days, attempts at fold space travel often ended badly because nobody could foresee the hidden dangers lurking between here and there. The navigators fixed that problem by seeing it before it happened. Navigators remain essential for as long as the Guild maintains its monopoly on interstellar transport. They rely on spice to function, and the entire universe depends on that spice to keep trade and travel flowing. The Navigators themselves don't fold space. Holtzman engines do the heavy lifting, but their unique minds turn that raw, terrifying potential into something profitable, predictable, and stable. They use prescience to choose a route with no deadly gravitational traps or unexpected voids. Over time, the Empire and the Great Houses come to trust the Navigators. Even emperors fear losing their services. These spice-addicted, mutated humans hold the keys to the stars. Without them, traveling at faster-than-light speeds would revert to a deadly gamble. The Navigators become like cosmic traffic cops, directing starships along safe corridors and ensuring that nobody takes a wrong turn and ends up nowhere good. Number 6. Who was the first Guild Navigator? In the eras before Paul Atreides became who he was, the foundations of the Spacing Guild and its Navigators took shape through a complex series of events and personalities who bent space and time to their will. The prequel stories fill in these early chapters and show just how the Guild rose to power. Before the events on Arrakis, there were humans like Demur Pilru, a trainee navigator from the technological powerhouse world of Ix. He went through a pretty horrific transformation to become a fully fledged navigator and devoted his life to guiding immense highliners through the treacherous folds of space. And don't worry, we're going to explain what highliners are in just a bit. Coming back to Pilru, even a skilled navigator depended on pure, authentic spice. When Count Fenring tested a synthetic version made by the Tleilaxu, Demur's capabilities took a nosedive. His prescient visions went haywire, and one highliner materialized in the wrong spot, crashed into the defenses of Wallach 9, and met a fiery end. Under tainted spice influence, Demur drifted off course into unknown territory. Only after returning to real melange did he muster the strength to bring his ship and passengers home. This heroic effort drained his last ounce of life, showing how navigators and real spice had a lethal yet inseparable bond. Number 7. What are highliners and how are they designed? A highliner is a colossal starship that crisscrosses the cosmos in Frank Herbert's Dune Universe. It transports people, cargo, and entire fleets without breaking a sweat. Its sheer size staggers the imagination. Duke Leto Atreides once noted that all his frigates and transports could fit into one tiny corner of a highliner's hold. These ships stretch over 20 kilometers long, making them cosmic behemoths that few can rival. Highliners belong to the Spacing Guild's transportation system. They provide neutral ground under strict laws. Anyone who dares break the peace risks losing shipping privileges, and trust me, nobody wants to get booted off this cosmic gravy train. Enemies often share cargo space on a highliner without throwing a single punch. The Guild's zero-tolerance stance on hostility ensures a smooth ride free of death and destruction. A Guild navigator controls the highliner's interstellar journey at translight speed. The highliner itself doesn't land. It appears at new destinations and parks high above the world while carrying entire civilizations in its belly. History credits Aurelius Venport with the first Spacing Guild ship design, but his mistress, Norma Senba, actually invented highliners during the Butlerian Jihad. Over time, the planet Ix became known for building these mammoth vessels. In one bold maneuver described in Dune, House Corino, a highliner folded right into a cavern under Ix's surface and knocked an occupying army off balance. This trick only proved its staggering power and versatility. Number 8. How has the Guild been portrayed in movies and games? The depiction of the Spacing Guild and its navigators varies wildly depending on the adaptation. In David Lynch's 1984 film, the Navigator looks like an enormous mutant creature rather than a humanoid figure. He resembles a bulky worm or newt with a grossly distorted head, a weird V-shaped mouth, and stubby, useless limbs. Surprisingly, he lacks the blue eyes that usually tag spice addicts. Later, the 2000 miniseries Frank Herbert's Dune shows a different Navigator design. This version has a withered humanoid head, full-on blue eyes, and arms mutated into wing-like limbs with stretched webbed fingers. By the 2003 sequel miniseries Frank Herbert's Children of Dune, the Navigator Edric appears as a sleek golden humanoid with a long narrow skull, elongated limbs, and feathery growths. Each of these depictions riffs on the Navigator's traditional spice-induced mutations in its own way. Denis Villeneuve's 2021 Dune film keeps navigators off the screen. Instead, the camera catches a glimpse of Guild reps in white cloaked suits with opaque visors. Villeneuve aimed to keep space travel shrouded in mysticism and avoid cluttering the plot. According to a Screen Rant writer, this limited Guild presence kept the film's story straightforward. Villeneuve's approach suggests that sometimes less is more, especially when juggling a massive universe's complex lore. The Guild also appeared in the 2001 real-time strategy game Emperor: Battle for Dune. Here, the Guild flexes serious muscle as a sub-faction with its own army. Forget neutrality, these guys have guns. They use their signature highliners to ferry troops from major houses, Atreides, Harkonnen, and Ordos, to Arrakis. Their navigators pilot Naiab tanks that can zap enemies with a single electrical bolt. They also run Naiab flyers, basically an airborne version without actual weapons. The Naiab tank can fold space on the battlefield, allowing quick jumps that give it a tactical edge. One memorable mission even has the three houses duking it out inside a Guild highliner, turning this once neutral zone into a war zone. The Guild's forces include a unit called the Maker, a freaky infantry creature blending Navigator features and a mini sandworm vibe. It wields an electrical weapon, showing that the Guild can do more than haul spice around. Later in the game, the Guild tries to seize ultimate power by building an Emperor worm. This suggests that, in the gaming version, the Guild might abandon its relatively impartial stance in pursuit of total domination. Number 9. What's the Guild's take on religion, and what is Guild peace? The Guild views religion as a handy tool for keeping the galaxy's social fabric nice and tidy. It pushes a standardized faith by promoting the Orange Catholic Bible, helping it spread across the universe and protecting the rebellious thinkers who gave it life. Despite this involvement, the Guild itself does not believe in any godly plan or cosmic savior. They are atheists who care more about stability and commerce than divine truths. To them, religion functions as a well-oiled machine that keeps people cooperative, predictable, and open to paying for safe passage among the stars. If uniform worship prevents chaos and boosts their profits, the Guild calls it a win. The Guild peace represents a sort of cosmic neutral zone that the Guild enforces for its own benefit and everyone else's relief. The Guild controls sanctuary planets such as Tupile, where defeated or endangered houses can bolt when the going gets tough. These renegade houses bring along their shields, atomics, and whatever else they can cram into their ships, but no one dares break the Guild peace. The Guild keeps Tupile's location secret and ensures that no violence taints this refuge. Within this bubble of calm, rival factions set aside their beef and respect the terms. Nobody wants to test the Guild's patience here because losing access to interstellar travel would be like getting stranded on a desert island with no water. The Guild peace holds everyone to a code of non-aggression, no matter how nasty their old grudges run. In short, the Guild doesn't bow down to any deity, but uses religion to secure order and boost profits. Meanwhile, the Guild peace lays down a strict no-warfare policy on its sanctuary planets, which makes them safe havens for houses on the run and keeps the galaxy's economic veins pumping sweet and steady. Number 10. Are the Navigators replaceable? We should talk about the 5th and 6th novels, Heretics of Dune and Chapter House Dune, set 5,000 years after Paul's reign. This era includes 3,500 years under Leto II's rule and 1,500 years after his death. The aggressive Honored Matres have taken over Junction, the old Spacing Guild hub above Gamu. Meanwhile, the technocrats of Ix develop compilers, devices that perform calculations much like computers. This teeters on the edge of violating the ancient ban on thinking machines established after the Butlerian Jihad millennia ago. These compilers make navigators obsolete, removing the need for their spice-induced prescience. The Navigator's abilities have been waning anyways due to the severe spice shortages caused by the destruction of Dune and its sandworms and the Bene Gesserit's tight control over the remaining melange stockpiles. Leto II's 3,500-year prescient rule demonstrated the dangers of prescience. The whole universe can become trapped in one being's vision, granting absolute power. Facing obsolescence and mistrust, the Guild clings to Ix, but both are in decline. Navigators still exist, but their significance in the universe has greatly diminished. As Paul Atreides noted, the Guild's obsession with the safe path led them into stagnation and ultimately to their downfall. Their reluctance to take risks or embrace change made them vulnerable to the very forces they sought to control. Marvelous verdict! So yeah, the Spacing Guild's journey through the Dune saga is a tale of power, dependency, and the perils of playing it safe. They start as the unrivaled masters of interstellar travel, their navigators guiding ships across the cosmos with the help of spice-induced visions. Yet, their aversion to direct political engagement and their reliance on melange set the stage for their decline. They manipulated events from the shadows, believing they could outlast any empire by remaining the indispensable middlemen. But in a universe where control over the spice means control over everything, their dependency became their Achilles heel. The Guild's story is a cautionary one about the risks of complacency and the illusion of safety. By trying to maintain the status quo and avoid the turbulence of political ambition, they ended up losing their grip on the very forces that sustain them. Their fall from prominence serves as a reminder that in a constantly changing universe, adaptation isn't just advantageous, it's essential for survival. That's all we got for you this time, but if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. This is Wizard Wheezy signing off for now, but thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.